Hello everyone, welcome to the course titled Optimization Methods for Energy System. Up to this point, we have used the graphical solution methods to solve the linear programming optimization problem with only two decision-making variables. As we discussed in the previous session, the graphical solution technique can only solve the linear optimization problem with no more than two decision-making variable. And for the linear optimization problems with more than two decision-making variable, we must use other techniques uh, like the simplex method. The simplex method is a powerful technique that extends the idea of the graphical solution to higher dimensions. It is an iterative algorithm that efficiently searches the corner points of the feasible region defined by constraints. The overall structure of the simplex algorithm is summarized as follows. Step 1. Initialization. We convert all inequality constraints into equality constraints using slack, surplus, and artificial variables to construct the initial table. In step 2, we have the optimality test. We examine the bottom row or the objective function row of the table. If the current solution meets the optimality criterion, it means that no further improvement is possible, so we stop. Otherwise, we proceed to step 3. Step 3. Iteration. We perform a pivot operation on the table to move to a new basic feasible solution that improves the objective function. We return to step 2 and repeat the process. It is necessary to mention that each iteration follows a systematic set of rules. The process eventually reaches an optimal solution or determines whether the problem is unbounded or infeasible. Okay, let's start with step 1. This step consists of two different substeps. Substep 1.1 convert inequality constraints to equality constraints. In this substep, all constraints must be expressed as equality constraints. According to the table on the top right of the slide here, we have slack variables. A slack variable is used for constraints in the form of lower than or equal to something. It represents unused resources. Surplus variable and artificial variable are used for constraints in the form of greater than or equal to something. We subtract a surplus variable to reflect excess usage and add an artificial variable to start from a feasible point. And finally, we have artificial variable. Artificial variable is used for constraints in the form of equal to something. It is necessary to mention that the slack the slack and surplus variables only appear in the constraints, whereas artificial variables also appear in the auxiliary version of the objective function using the big M method, but not in the original objective function itself. In substep 1.2, we construct the initial simplex table. After adding these variables, we set up the initial table. Columns correspond to the original decision-making variables, slack variables, artificial variables, and also rows correspond to each constraint and the objective function. The initial basic variable will typically be the slack or artificial variable, one per each constraint. One per constraint. Step 2 describes the optimality test, which help us to determine whether to continue iterating. In a maximization form of the objective, in the maximization form of the optimization problem, if every coefficient in the bottom row or objective row of the table is non-negative, the current solution is optimal. Otherwise, there is room for improvement. In a minimization form of the optimization problem, if every coefficient in the objective row is non-positive, the current solution is optimal. Otherwise, there is room for improvement. Step 3. Iteration. Step 3 consists of 3 different substeps. In first substep of step 3, we select the non-basic variables. We select the non-basic variable with the most negative coefficient in the objective row for the maximization form of the optimization problem, or the most positive coefficient for the minimization form of the optimization problem. This column becomes the pivot column. This indicates the steepest potential increase or decrease in the maximization and minimization form of the optimization problem respectively. We mark it so we know which variable will potentially enter as a basic variable in the next iteration. It should be noted that choosing the entering variable correctly ensures that each iteration improves the objective function value. In the next substep of step 3, substep 3.2, we look down on the pivot column and consider only rows with positive coefficients. For each such row, we divide the right-hand side value by the pivot column coefficient to compute a ratio. The row with the smallest ratio is selected. Its basic variable is the leaving variable, because increasing the entering variable in that row would hit the right-hand side first. We mark this as a pivot row. This process is called the minimum ratio test and ensures that the new solution remains feasible. And in the last substep, in the last substep of step 3, substep 3, we use elementary row operations to form a new table. We divide the entire pivot row by the pivot element to make it equal to 1. For each of the other rows, we eliminate the pivot column entries by adding or subtracting suitable multiples of the pivot row. After updating, we return to the optimality test, or step 2, and we will repeat these steps until no improvement is possible. It's necessary to mention that each iteration moves from one corner point of the feasible region to an adjacent point to improve the objective function value until the optimum is found. This process may seem a little bit confusing at first. However, I think working through a general and simple example will help us clarify the process. Okay, we begin with a linear programming problem to be solved using the simplex algorithm. This problem has only two decision-making variable, and we can solve it using a graphical solution technique. However, we will solve it with the simplex method to illustrate the process. We start with step 1, converting to the standard form and initial simplex table. The first sub-step of step 1 is in the simplex method is to rewrite the optimization problem in a standard form. We have three inequality constraints in the form of lower than or equal to something. So we introduce slack variables S1, S2, and S3 with positive sign to convert the inequalities into equalities. As we can see from the previous slide, we have three different constraints in the form of lower than or equal to something, and we have to convert them to equality constraints using slack variables. Then we convert the objective function into the standard form. The objective is rewritten as z minus 3x1 minus 5x2 equals to 0. In the next substep of step 1, we construct the initial simplex table. The table columns correspond to the decision-making variables x1 and x2, as we can see from here. Slack variables s1, s2, and s3, and the right-hand side. The rows represent the constraints and the objective function. We have three different constraints and also the objective function, therefore we have four rows. At this stage, the slack variables form the initial basic feasible solution. As we can see here, the basic variable are S1, S2, and S3. Then we fill each part of the table based on the coefficients in the optimization problem from here. After completing the simplex table, we can see the negative coefficients in the last row or in the objective function row. These negative values indicate that further improvement is possible. We have negative sign here and also here. Step 2, optimality test. We evaluate the initial table, and as I said, because the last row or the objective function row contains negative coefficients, the current solution is not optimal for a maximization form of the optimization problem. And we must identify the entering variable in the first substep of step 3. To improve the objective, we select the entering variable. For a maximization form of the optimization problem, we choose the variable with the most negative coefficient in the objective function row or in the last row. Here, as we can see, x2 has a coefficient of -5, more negative than -3 for x1. So x2 becomes the entering variable, and this defines the pivot column. Therefore, x2 is pivot column. Next, we use the minimum ratio test to determine which basic variable will leave the basis. We compute the ratio of the right-hand side to the pivot column coefficient for each constraint row, considering only positive coefficients in the pivot column. Consider first row S1. Coefficient of this row in the pivot column is 0. Therefore, there is no ratio. It means that it cannot leave the basis. For the next row, row S2, the coefficient is in the column in the pivot column is 2, and as we can see here, 2, and the right hand side is 12, as we can see from here. Therefore, the ratio is 6. For the third row, row S3, the coefficient of this row in a pivot column is 2, and the right hand side is 18. Therefore, the ratio is 9. The smallest ratio is 6, as we can see from here. The smallest ratio is 6. So S2 is the leaving variable. The intersection of row S2 and column X2 is the pivot number or pivot element, as we can see from the table. It means that in this iteration of the simplex table, the pivot element or pivot number is 2. The last substep of step 3, performing the pivot operation. In this substep, we pivot to obtain a new basic feasible solution. We have two different rules in this substep. Rule 1 for pivot row: to make x2 a basic variable with a coefficient of 1, we divide the entire pivot row by pivot element or by 2 to convert it into a unit row. By dividing row S2 or pivot row by pivot element, we have a new row for x2, as we can see here. And it means that we have x2 plus 0.5 S2 equal to 6. For other rows, for each other row, subtract or add an appropriate multiple of the new pivot row to eliminate the pivot column coefficient in that row. This transforms the table so that the pivot column has zeros everywhere except for a single one in the new pivot row. After the first pivot, x2 becomes a basic variable with value of 6. At the end of this operation, the table will have updated entries. This new table shows x2 in a basis and s2 in a non-basis variable. Okay, here we performed a row operation to zero out the pivot column in other rows. For each non-pivot row, as I said, we eliminate the coefficients under the pivot column. Consider first row, row S1. Row S1 has a 0 in a pivot column, as we can see from here. 0 in the pivot column. So it remains unchanged. Row S3 has a value of, has a value of 2, has a 2 in a pivot column. Subtract twice the new pivot row from it, as we can see. As we can see here. Subtract twice the new pivot row from it, and we have the new pivot row for S3, and the same process for the objective function row. The objective function row has minus 5 in the pivot column, and we add 5 times the new pivot row to it, as we can see here. And after the row operation, we have updated table. The updated table lists the basic variables S1, X2, and S3 with values of 4, 6, and 6 respectively. The new objective function row is 30 minus 3x1 plus 2.5 S2. Two important observation arises in this slide. The new basic feasible solution gives the value of 30 for the objective function. It means that we had an improvement over the initial solution. There is still a negative coefficient -3 in the x1 column of the Z row. According to the optimality test for a maximization form of the optimization problem, this means that the current solution is not yet optimal, and the improvement of x1 can still increase the objective function value. Therefore, another iteration is needed, with x1 chosen as the entering variable in the next pivot step. This step-by-step process illustrates how the simplex method systematically moves from one corner point of the feasible region to another point and can improve the objective value until no further improvements are possible. This slide summarizes the next iteration and the final table. After repeating the pivot step, x1 enters the basis and S3 leaves. As we can see from the table on the top of a slide, it means that we have the optimal solution. The final table, the bottom table, shows the basic variables x1, x2, and S1 and their values 2, 6, 2. x1 is 2, x2 is 6, and S1 is 2, and the objective function value is 36. Slack variables S2 and S3 are 0 in the optimal solution. This means that the optimal production mix is 2 units of x1, 6 units of x2, and it yields a maximum profit of 36. The simplex method systematically navigates from one corner point of the feasible region to another and improves the objective value at each step until the optimum is found, as I said. Here we want to solve another linear programming problem using the simplex method. But in this problem, we have a minimization form of the optimization problem and also different type of the constraints. As we can see, we have constraint lower than or equal to something, greater than or equal to something, and equal to something, as we can from the slide. This problem, as I said, indicates 3 different types of constraints. Because the second and third constraint cannot be converted to the standard form using only slack variables, we will employ the big M method, which introduces artificial variables with large penalty M in the objective function equation. First, we must convert the optimization problem into the standard form. To this process, we introduce a slack variable S1 for the first constraint, for the constraint lower than or equal to something. In this condition, the new constraint is 0.5 x1 plus 0.25 x2 plus S1 must be equal to 4. We also introduce a surplus variable S2 and an artificial variable A1 for the second constraint. The constraint greater than or equal to something, this constraint. And as we can see, we have S2 and A1 in this constraint. And also we introduce an artificial variable A2 for the equality constraint, for the last constraint. We only have A2 here. To ensure artificial variables are driven to zero in the optimal solution, we must rewrite the objective function equation with a large penalty m, as we can see from the objective function equation. And next, we construct the initial simplex table. The basic variables are S1, A1, and A2. Because the coefficient of these variables can create an identity matrix in the simplex table. As we can see, consider S1, A1, and A2. This creates an identity matrix in the simplex table. The Z row contains -2, -3, and also -m coefficients correspond to A1 and A2. It is necessary to mention that in a proper big M setup, the coefficients of A1 and A2 in the Z row, in the objective function row, must be 0. This will be achieved by row operation. As I said, before running the simplex algorithm, the Z row must be adjusted so that the artificial variables do not appear in it. The rule is new Z row is equal to old Z row plus m times row of each artificial variable, because the old Z row coefficients for A1 and A2 are -m. Adding m times each artificial row eliminates those terms. This process yields a new Z row, as we can see from here. After this process, the Z row has no artificial variables term, as we can see here, which is required for the simplex algorithm to proceed correctly. Okay. Determining the first pivot. We examine the updated Z row. If a minimization form of the optimization problem has a positive coefficient in the Z row, the current solution is not optimal. Here, the terms 2m minus 2 and 4m minus 3 in x1 and x2 columns are positive for large m values. So we must select one of them to pivot. Therefore, we choose the largest positive coefficient in the Z row. X2 fits this criterion and become the pivot column, because X2 has the largest positive coefficient in the Z row. And we compute the ratio of the right hand side to the pivot column coefficient for each row. The smallest ratio determines the leaving variable. In this table, A1 has the smallest ratio and leaves the basis. We can see the pivot column and pivot row position on the table. This sets up the first iteration of the simplex algorithm. After pivoting x2 into the basis and A1 out, we obtain a new table. Each row has been updated via row operations. So So that the pivot column now forms a unit vector. The basic variables are now S1, X2, and A2. However, in the Z row, the coefficients in the X1 column here is still positive. According to the optimality test, this means we must perform a second iteration because there is room for improvement. Next entering variable is x1, as I said, because it has the most positive value in the Z row, and next leaving variable is a2 because it has the smallest ratio of the right hand side to pivot column entry. This sets the stage for one more round of row operation. After the second pivot, the final table is shown in this slide. Basic variables are S1, X2, and X1. Artificial variables A1 and A2 has become non-basic and take the value 0. So the solution is feasible. And as we can see, the Z row has no positive coefficients. Therefore, the solution is optimal. The solution values are x1 5, x2 5, s1 0.25, a1 0, and a2 0, and the objective function value is 25. It's necessary to mention that if any artificial variable remains basic with a non-zero value in the final table, the original problem is infeasible. In this example, A1 and A2 are 0, so the problem has a valid optimal solution. This is the end of the linear programming optimization, and thank you so much for your attention.